Hi, Tracy Hugelmeyer here with VintagepreneurUniversity.com, where I help vintage sellers start, grow, and scale their business on Etsy. I also own my own vintage business, Rustic Guy, that I've had on Etsy since 2013. And today I'm really excited to get started with a brand new Friday feedback. Before I introduce you to today's volunteer to get a review of her Etsy shop, I wanted to remind you of a few things and a disclaimer just to be very cautious when you're making any changes to your Etsy shop. No matter who's giving you the advice, you want to just make sure that you are moving forward thoughtfully and making changes only that sound right to you and your business. And also, you never want to change everything at once because you want to keep an eye on the results that you're getting, okay? And if you'd like to know how to get your own free review for your vintage Etsy shop, check out the notes below. I tell you exactly how to do that. You just want to become an Etsy junkie. It's free and easy and a great place for support, so check it out. And I'm going to go ahead and jump behind my screen so we can get started. Okay, so introducing Dodi with Bee Vintage 41. Definitely check out her shop. I'm going to link below to it. The first thing that I noticed when I landed on her shop was really the quality of her photos. Dodi, you're doing a really awesome job with your photos. I think that they're really great and they really stand out. And what's more is it took me a moment to figure it out, but the bee that you have in all your photos, even if he's just kind of peeking in, is seriously super smart. And I loved it even more when I read your story in your about section, and I'll get to that in a minute. But what it's doing for you, what it's really contributing to from an overall perspective is it's helping with your branding. It's really helping to tell your story and to also, make your photos recognizable and to stand out. And so really good job with that. I love that. Aside from the fact that I'm terrified of bees, but that said, even somebody who's terrified of bees, this is just cute to me. There's nothing scary about this. So, for what it's worth, I really love it. Now, you don't have a banner, and I know that a lot of people wonder, is a banner a really necessary thing to have? And my answer to that is no. I don't think that it's necessary at all. It really comes down to the look and feel that you want for your business and your brand. And sometimes, as like in this case, I think that her branding is coming through and really well and really strongly. And so I don't think that a banner is needed here. I think she's doing just fine without one. If she wanted to add one, it wouldn't hurt, but it's not necessary. And just a side note, Dodi, if you're not already doing something with that bee in your packaging, I would recommend that you definitely do that, whether it's a little sticker or, a picture somehow on a postcard or on your business card. If you are incorporating this exact bee, a picture of it somehow in your packaging, I think that would really tie it all together and be really cute too. And even if you use those colors, like the black and yellow color, I think that would be super cute. Not sure what you're doing with your packaging, so that's just a suggestion if you haven't already thought about it. And I already mentioned how much I like your pictures. I would say, if anything, I really like how you put the camera on the maps, for example. This one here, just as an example, is a little bit more clear to me than like this one. And just because the camera is off the map a little bit more, if you put this camera just off the frame a little bit more, and here in this one too, it would make it even more clear to browsers what it is that's for sale. And, for example, you're not actually selling the camera, you're just selling the map. So I think that that's translated more in this photo versus this photo. And here's another example. It's translated more in this photo versus this photo. So if you just pushed those off your frame a little bit, like you did up here or up here, I think that would just be something to take note of. I don't think it's worth having to redo these photos by any means, but just as you move forward, just keep that in mind. You want to keep it, props are great. They're definitely fine to use. Less is more when it comes to props, but also you want to make sure that your props are acting as props and not being confused as what it is that you're selling. So I think that that's really my only recommendation for you with your photos. I just love how you put the bee off the frame in some and he's completely in others. So, so cute. So just to demonstrate this one more time, here's another example. I think that this photo here does a little bit better job of making it clear of what's for sale than, say, for example, this one, because this is the thing that your eye goes to, the focus that your eye goes to, where in this picture, you know, you're kind of all grouped together there. So and there's not one thing that's taking up the most prominent space in your frame, in your thumbnail. So just so you can kind of get what I'm saying, like, I think this is a better photo than this photo for that particular purpose of making it clear of what you're selling and drawing the buyers or the browser's eyes right directly to what it is you want them to see. Okay, jumping down here to your announcement. Here is where you talk about the story of how the bees are a part of your brand and your story. And I already mentioned how much I love that. I think it's just super touching. And, you know, I love how you include it. I would probably put this part, the story of how it came to be. How the cast iron came to be. The cast iron bee came to be. I'm tripping over my own words here. I would put this down here in your about section. You don't necessarily have to remove it from here. You can still keep it in your announcement, but I just think because it's such a part of your story, it also belongs in your about section. And then you also want to, you know, just kind of figure out what your main primary keywords for your shop should be, or what you want them to be, what you're most focusing on for your what it is that you're sourcing. So just looking at your sections here, it looks like you have a lot of ephemera, maps, and books, and you have a lot of industrial and steampunk, and a lot of vintage and antique home. So I would, if those are truly the styles and the specialties that you're trying to focus on, I would figure out some key words for your shop in those, you know, categories. So vintage, industrial, farmhouse, and vintage ephemera, or something like that, whatever it is for you. And then you want to put that in your shop title here. You also want to put it at the top of your announcement. You don't have to take this out. You just want to, put them somewhere in the first couple sentences of your announcement, and then also in your about section at the top in the first couple sentences of your about section. And you want to do it in a normal way written for humans. So you want to say something like Bee Vintage 41 specializes in vintage industrial and vintage ephemera, or whatever it is that you decide to choose for those top keywords. And it's really easy just to add them. You don't have to really change anything else. Just sprinkle those in and you should be good to go there. And I'm loving that you have your face showing here. I would recommend that you also fill in this space here just so you don't have a blank spot. Whenever possible, you want to use you know, all the real estate that Etsy gives you. So including filling in photos and things like that. So you don't have any blank spaces and your shop looks complete. And Etsy knows that you're using all the space they provide. They tend to like that kind of thing. I'm also loving all the wonderful positive reviews. That shows me that you're definitely taking care of your customers. Lots of customer service here. And also your shipping, you're taking or treating shipping as a priority, and you're getting a lot of recognition for that as well. Those two things are going to help you hugely in your business. So great job. I'm always talking about how you should make it a priority to wow every single customer that you get. And I kind of giggled because I saw this little comment here where there's actually a wow in her response. So, and she had super nice things to say about you and the customer service that you provided. And she was definitely wowed. So I love that. I love seeing that you're accepting returns, exchanges, and cancellations. I always recommend that. And here where you list what things can't be returned or exchanged, this is totally fine. You don't need to change anything here. But if you, for example, never sell digital downloads or never sell intimate items, and you know you're not going to, and you never sell, perishable products, for example, you can always take those things out too, just to make it, more in line with what it is that you're selling. And then also, if you ever get any questions that come up a lot, consider adding some FAQs, because that does a couple things. It gives you more space to kind of show your brand personality and really, touch base with your customers. And then also it answers those questions that come up. And the more questions that you can answer for your customers, then the more likely somebody is to possibly make that purchase from you, because they no longer have the questions. Sometimes people have questions and they don't even want to ask them. And they don't want to be bothered, or they don't want to take the time, or they maybe think that they'll come back later and ask because something popped up for them and then they forget. But as if you can jump ahead of that and you can anticipate and answer their questions, then they're that much more likely to purchase from you. In other words, you're more likely to convert those browsers to buyers and get the sale. All right, so I'm going to review this jadeite coffee mug, because I have a thing for jadeite. Even though I own 0 pieces, I think I've never owned a piece of jadeite, but I think I have this vision in my head that I'm someday going to have a collection. Probably that, and many other things that are vintage, as such happens to us vintage lovers. But I love it. So anyway, and it looks like the photos are below today. Etsy likes to jump those around. It seems like sometimes they're on the side and sometimes they're below. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the photos. So for the first photo, I've already told you how much I like your photos. I think they're done really well. They're super in focus and just cute, and the bee really brings it all together for me. But and even the background, I really like your background. I would say that while I don't believe that the item that you're photographing has to be front and center in your photo, it should be super, super clear what it is that's for sale at a glance. And I think you're super close with this photo. If you just moved this vase over a little bit, then so that it was a little bit off frame, I think that you would have mastered this photo. But otherwise, it's really good. It's still pretty clear that it's the mug for sale, but if you just move that over, like I said, I think it would just cement that in, hammer that in even more. Okay. And then you have tons of pictures here which show the condition. These are all really good. Inside, the bottom. And there's really nothing else that I would suggest for your photos. I think that, you're doing a great job of photographing everything, and these look really good. I think that with a mug, as long as you have the dimensions in your description, you should be good to go as far as scale and size. If you wanted to add any type of photo to this, I would recommend a lifestyle photo. So maybe a picture of it on a coffee table, with a magazine or something like that, so that you can help your customers envision your items in their life. Those are always good photos to add if you are looking to kind of mix things up a little bit and have a new way of showcasing your items for sale. Your title looks good. I love that you use the different descriptive keywords here. So you have coffee mug here, and you have teacup here, you have saucer here, and you have plate here. So you have multiple ways for people looking for this type of item to find it. And while you don't have necessarily who this is for in your title, I notice you do have it in your tags. So that's great that you're covering that. You have a Mother's Day gift, jadeite collector. So those are good keywords that help draw in somebody who is looking for a particular type of gift or is a particular type of collector. And also gifts under 30. That's really smart to use, especially around the holiday time, because Etsy likes to pick out those types of categories for things that they showcase in emails and things like that. And then the only thing here in your tags is I noticed that it looks like you have less than 13 tags here. So you do want to make sure you're using all 13 tags, because that just is going to help you get found. It's going to be more ways to help you get found. I know that it's easy to get stuck on what keywords to use. So I'll go ahead and link to a video that I have that is some easy ways on how to come up with keywords. So check that out. All right, so diving into your item description, I like how you start this off. Fabulous jadeite coffee cup and saucer. Believe it or not, when you can bring in emotion into your description in a way that makes people kind of either have some kind of nostalgic feeling, which is a good one to use for vintage, or you can get them on board with, that this is a fabulous item. That can really help. That can be a helpful selling technique. This is probably a typo here, green color. So, unless you meant to say that twice, but I think that might be a typo. And this right here is kind of cool too, because it adds a scarcity factor, getting harder and harder to find. And, when people know that they are, this is a limited item, or it's hard to find or rare. It's not that you have to say that every time, but can kind of go towards that scarcity factor if it's truly, an authentic thing about the item. If you say in all your items that they're rare when they're definitely not rare, then that's going to kind of counter your efforts. So it's going to go against what you're trying to do because it's not authentic. So when you say something like that, as long as it's authentic, it definitely can be a good thing. And then I don't see any dimensions here, so I would definitely recommend that you add dimensions, and maybe also add something in here about how somebody could use this in their home, or even who it makes a good gift for, because even though you put that in your tags, if you mention something about that in your description, it will do a couple things. One, it'll help reinforce to the outside search engines that it is a great Mother's Day gift, because you're repeating that in the different areas of this page as an example. And just as a reminder, if you haven't heard me say it before, as far as we know, Etsy doesn't look at our descriptions when it comes to the algorithm for an Etsy search. However, the outside search engines like Google do look at everything on your site. So when you can reinforce what it is that you have to offer, they are more likely to send someone to your shop, to your page, to your items, okay? And two, the other thing that it does is it helps your buyers make their buying decision when you can make suggestions like that. So maybe they happened upon it and they're looking for a gift for their mother, and if they see that it makes a great Mother's Day gift, that just might help them make that decision to purchase. So it can help with your conversions as well, to make those kind of suggestions of how it can be used as a gift and in the person's own life themselves. And then the other thing I noticed is that you say to please take a moment to look at my other treasures, which is great. I would at that point direct them back to some of those other treasures. So by adding a link, these links here, these outside links in your description, are not going to actually work as links, but anything that you link inside your shop, whether it's to a section, to another item, or your main shop, is going to link back. So it's not that you shouldn't include these, but there's a couple reasons to include those internal links back to your shop. One is to keep someone in your shop and decrease your bounce rate, and also to encourage them to purchase from you if they're looking at other things in your shop. And two, it does help with your outside search engine optimization as well, because internal links help to confirm or validate that all your pages are linked, and the outside search engines look for that. Okay, just for fun, I wanted to try a search and see where we could see your cup and saucer come up in a search. And I just tried to think of a search term that I would search for, which was jadeite cup and vintage jadeite cup and saucer is what I typed in. Etsy takes off the vintage, but that's what I typed in. And as I'm scrolling down, I noticed a couple of things. One, there's your cup and saucer right on the front page, so that's awesome. The other thing is that it clearly stands out from the rest, which is something that you definitely want to aim for and will help you a lot. So you can see the others, a lot of the other ones just kind of blend together, but yours just kind of pops and stands out. I think it would be even a little teeny tiny bit better, like I mentioned, if this was off center just a tiny bit off the frame. And then, in my opinion, that would be a perfect picture, and it really helps you stand out in a crowded search. Okay, I mean, there's not just one page of search results. There's 226 search results. So I think it's really good that you're on the first page. Okay, so overall, Dodi, you're doing an amazing job, and you should be super proud of what you've created. I'd say if your best next step is probably to kind of take a step back and see what it is you want to focus on most going forward. Now, I know you probably have a lot of stuff that you've collected, and it might be an overwhelming thought for you to narrow in, but if you can kind of key in on those top things you want to focus on, 2 to 3 things, and narrow down what you source moving forward and who you are trying to attract to your shop, then that can really go a long way for your future success. Okay, so I hope that was helpful, both for Dodi and also for anyone watching this video today. If you like this video, it would really help me a lot to keep these going if you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and click on the little bell as well so that you get notified whenever a new video comes out. And again, to find out how to get your free review, check out the notes below. You just have to become an Etsy junkie or take any one of my free trainings. Either way, you're going to be a junkie, and you can just send me a message and you can volunteer your shop for your own free review. You do have to sell vintage. That's my only caveat. And you do have to have a shop on Etsy. 2 caveats. Okay, so, and again, it doesn't matter if you've been around for a few days or a few years. Everybody is welcome. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.